pushing our weight into the hip, exaggerating the movements. Forward and back, that's it, stretch. Keep those knees soft. Forward, back, forward, back. Let's try this with our arms in second position. Couple more, really exaggerate. And push, and push. And now with the arms, palms pushing in the direction of the hip. Chest level. Let's try quicker sets of 3. Here we go. 1, 2, and we're gonna hold on that 3. Good. 1, 2, and hold. Beautiful. 1, 2, hold. And 1, 2, and hold. Let's try some lower arms, framing the hips. Palms to the floor. 1, 2, and 3. Really stretch. It's 1, 2, and 3. And last one. 1, 2, and 3. Good job. Now, let's reverse the infinity symbol to take a forward figure 8. Again, starting with a wider stance. One of the major differences is that in our forward figure 8, we can lift our heel up off the ground as needed, and the hip will be moving in the opposite direction. Let's start by sliding the hip to the back, to the side, and to the front, slice through the body to the back. Let's take the left hip, back, side, front. As the hip comes to the front, we lift up the heel and we turn our body to profile. Bend the knees as we come through center. Back, side, front, heel is up, slide through, back, side, front. We can add arms that help make the hip pattern a little easier. Take the arm back, side, front, and down, just like the hip. Back, side, front, and down. The hips and the arms will work together. Let's try that. Back, side, front, drop the arm and the hip, bend both knees, back, side, front, and down. Let's try this with some music. Nice wide stance. And here we go. It's back, side, front, bend the knees. Back, side, front, and bend. Back, side, front, bend. Back, side, front. And now flowing through the movement and down. Forward and down. Good. Really pushing our body weight into the hip. Forward and down. Forward, down. Good. Stretch. Couple more. And let's try this movement with our arms in second position. Really exaggerate that hip movement, bringing it forward and forward. Good. And stretch. And we'll take this one into sets of 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Bend in the center. 1, 2, 3, and bend. 1, 2, 3, and bend. 1, 2. Let's add the arms back in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Relax. Good. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And last one. And breathe. We can also take our figure 8 movements vertically, imagining that our infinity symbol is standing upright. We can trace this up and down. Let's start with an upward figure 8. Breaking down. Starting on the right side, we'll think about making a loop outward from the hip. Bend the knees. Push the hip out to the side, keeping our heel down. We want to take that as far as we can. Now lift up the heel and lift up the hip, bringing it right into the body. Drop the heel down. Let's try that again. Bending down, pelvis is tucked underneath us. Push out to the side. Lift up the heel, lift up the hip, squeezing in and drop. If we push through this movement, we can make a circle on one side. Let's try to make that circle with the left hip. Tailbone back underneath us. Plie down, push out to the side, lift the heel, lift the hip, and drop that heel. Again, down, push out to the side, lift up and in, and drop. Smoothing that out. Push and squeeze. Push and squeeze. If we bring both circles together, we can make our figure 8. Let's try it. Pushing out to the right, coming through center, bending both of the knees, pushing out to the left, coming back to the center, and bending both knees. We can use the ball of the foot to help push side to side, lifting up the hip. Let's take this with some music. Arms in second position, and on the right, down, out, up and in, bend the knees, left side, down, out, up and in, again, down, out, up and in, and down, out, up and in. Let's smooth it out. Lifting up, and bend both knees, left side, up, and bend. A little bit faster now. It's up, and bend, up, and bend, up, and bend. Beautiful. Lift up, and bend, up, and bend. Into our sets of 3 with a pause. 1, 2, 3, squeeze. Good. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Bend both knees. 1, 2, 3. Couple more, doing great. It's 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Last set. 1, 2, 3. Bend. And 1, 2, 3. And bend. One of our most magnificent movements of belly dance is our downward figure 8. We call this a Maya. Looks like this. This movement can be broken down as a downward circle on each side. Let's break down the right side. Lift the heel and the hip, push out to the side, drop that heel down, keeping the weight inside the hip, and then pull underneath us. Tailbone stays down. Let's try that again. Lifting up, pushing out, dropping the heel down, and swinging under. This smooths out to make a beautiful circle. Let's take this on our left side. Lift the heel and the hip, push out to the side, drop down, tailbone underneath us, and plie. Again, lifting up, push out to the side, drop down, and swing under, smoothing out to make our circle. If we connect our circles, we have our Maya step. At first, the hip flexibility may only allow you to feel that you're making an arch on each side. This is normal. With practice, you'll be able to fuse the circles together to make that figure 8. Let's try it with some music. And here we go. Lifting up, pushing out, dropping down, and swinging under, smoothing out. It's up and over, up and over. Good. Lift and push. Let's try that on the left side. Here we go. Lift up, push it out, drop it down, and swing it under. Here we go. It's up and over, up and over, up and over. Now let's put this together. Right hip out, left hip out, right hip out, and left. The hands will begin to frame the hips. Notice that we're leading with the wrist. Beautiful. Really stretch and stretch. Let's take that into our set of 3 with a pause. 1, 2, and 3. And a 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2. Really stretch. Couple more sets. 1, 2, stretch. 1, 2, stretch. One more time each side. 1, 2, and stretch. Last one. 1, 2, stretch. Excellent. A one-sided hip circle is sometimes called a bicycle hip. This movement can go back to front or front to back. Let's start in our bevel. Lift that heel. We'll start with the hip back to front. The hip goes back, lifts up, pulls forward, and drops down, bending the knees. If we smooth this out, it makes a circle. Keep the heel lifted, push into the ball of the foot. Let's try this in reverse. The hip will go forward, lift up, pull back, and down. Again, forward, lift up, pull it back, and down. As we smooth this out, it becomes our backward circle. Let's take this in an exercise where we take 3 circles on one side and then step in between with music. Starting back to front on the right, it's back to front, back to front. One more time. Take a step, lift the opposite heel, and back to front, back to front, back to front, step, switch, back to front, back to front. One more time. Step, switch, left side, and 2, and 3, switch, and let's pick up that pace. 1, 2, 3, and step. 1, 2, 3, and step, adding arms. 1, 2, 3, and step. 1, 2, 3, and step. One more time. 1, 2, 3, and step, and 1, and 2, and 3, and step. Excellent. Let's take this in reverse. Hip going front to back. Lift that right heel. Up, pull back. Bend the knees. Up, pull back. Up, pull back. Step, lift the left. Forward, pull it back. Up, pull back. Up, pull back. Step. Let's take that again slowly. Up, pull it back. Belly's tight. And back. One more time. And step, switch, up, pull it back. Use those obliques. Pull back. Up, pull back, step. A little faster now. It's back. 2, 3, and step. Back. 2, 3. Add those arms. 1, 2, 3, and step. 1, 2, 3, and step. 1, 2, 3. Here's our last one. It's 1, 2, 3, and step. Let's expand on the hip circles we did in warm-up. This time we can add some walking steps to make it move side to side. We call it a traveling hip circle. Let's start by widening our stance. We'll be drawing a circle and a half with our hips. Let's try that first to the right. We'll begin with our hips to the left so we can travel to the right. Hips push in front of the body, behind, in front, and hold reverse, forward, back, forward, and hold. Let's try that again. In front, behind, nice big circle, and hold, and forward, and back, and forward, and hold. We combine this with a step together, step touch to the side. Let's try that. Step out, together, step, touch. That's our bevel. Step, together, step, and touch. When our foot steps outward, which happens twice, our pelvis comes in front of the body. When the feet come together, we take the back of the circle. Step out again and touch. Step out, pelvis in front, feet together, finish the circle, step out, and touch. We can also add a look and a hand gesture side to side. Let's try this. Forward, back, forward, touch, forward, back, forward, touch. Let's try the traveling hip circle with some music. Arms in second. Step out, together, out, touch, forward, back, forward, and touch. Good. Front, back, front, touch, front, back, front. Couple more times slowly. And back, forward, touch. Good. Front, back. Let's speed it up. Here we go. Step together, step, touch. Notice the circle becomes smaller as we speed it up. Doing great, a couple more. Last time. Beautiful. Percussive hips are fun, energetic, and relieve lots of stress. Let's start with a side-to-side hip movement. Feet will be parallel, tailbone tucked underneath us, about shoulders width apart for our feet. Knees are soft. From here, we'll push the hip outward, side to side, pushing the weight into the side of the active hip. We can take this as a single or as a double, 2 on each side, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, or as a triplet, set of 3 with a pause. Right, left, hold, left, right, left. We can also make this a walking movement. To do this, we step forward on the foot, making sure our heel is down and release the hip outward. Step, step, and step. Take it back, pushing out, pushing out, pushing out, pushing out. Make sure that the knees stay bent and that we don't accidentally lift the hip at the end of the movement by straightening the knee. Let's try this with some music. Feet shoulder width apart, tailbone underneath us, knees soft, chest up, arms in second position. Let's take this slowly to the right, pushing right and pushing left. Knees are soft, right and left. A little bit faster now. It's right, left, right, left. And we'll take it for a little walk. To the front for 4, heel down, and 2, and 3. Stepping back, push it out, and 2, and 3. Let's walk this to the right side. It's 1, and 2, and 3. Step back. It's 1, and 2, and 3. To the left side. Here we go. It's 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Take it back. It's 1, and 2, and 3. Back to center. Now speed it up. Right, left, left. Arms stretch up to a reverse temple position. Belly is pulled in, chest is lifted, and we're squeezing our glutes to get a nice tight movement. Now arms come back to second position, and we'll take it as a triplet, adding a pause. Right, left, hold right, hold left, right, left, right, left. Couple more, doing great. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And let's speed it up. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Keep the movements nice and sharp. Arms back up to temple. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And finish. Excellent. We can also take our hip up and down. This is called a hip lift or a hip drop. Let's start with our hip lift. For this, we begin with our foot in a bevel. Toes are parallel and we lift up the heel on the active side. Bend both of our knees, tailbone is tucked underneath us, and we'll lift the hip percussively upward on the beat. Lift and lift. Squeeze the glutes and engage our obliques. Up, up. Make sure that the heel stays lifted as if we're wearing a high-heeled shoe on one side. We never want to drop the heel. Let's try this forward and back. To take the hip lift forward and back, we begin by pointing the toe front and back, sliding back and forth. At the end of the movement, we bend and pop our hip upward. Let's take this to the back, bend and pop the hip upward. Forward and back and forward and back. We could take this as a double by taking 2 hips front and 2 hips back. Forward, forward, back, back, forward, forward, back, and back. Now we'll try a hip drop, taking the hip downward on the beat. Again, we'll start in a bevel, lifting the heel up on the side of the active hip, but we'll also lift that hip upward and drop it downward on the beat. Drop, drop, being again careful not to drop the heel. This movement can also move forward and back, but we don't bring the foot with us. This time, the hip will be doing all the work. We'll lift it up, bring it to the front, drop it down, lift it up, bring it to the back, and drop it down. As we smooth this out, our hip makes a rainbow from front to back. Let's try it as a double. 2 to the front, 1 and 2, 2 to the back, 1 and 2. Let's take these variations with some music. Starting on our right side, feet parallel, lifting up the heel on the right, knees soft. Let's take that hip up and relax. Up, relax, good. Up, relax, and let's try that a little faster now. Lift up and up, trying not to bob our head. Let's stay nice and steady, keeping all the work in the hip. And arms, reverse temple. That's it. Arms back down. And we'll try this to the front and the back. Here we go. It's forward, push back, and forward, and back. Even though our leg is moving, make sure our hip is in the spotlight. Push and push. Let's try a double. 2 to the front, slowly. 1 and 2, back. 1 and 2, good. 1 and 2, back. Upper body stays lifted. 1 more time, forward, 2, back, 2. Excellent. Let's try this on the left side. Beveling the left foot, knees bent, and lift the hip up and down. Lift up and down. Lift up and down. And up, up to tempo. Lift and lift, lift, lift. Nice strong movement. Arms float up to reverse temple. Arms down, forward and back. It's front and back and front and back. Really snap that hip. We want to have a lot of attitude with our percussive hip movements. 2 more. Doubles. to the front for 2. It's 1 and 2, back, 1 and 2, forward, 1 and 2, and back. Couple more, looking good. Forward, 2, back, 2, last one. Excellent. Now let's practice our hip drops by again standing in our bevel. Knees are soft, lift that hip up and drop it on the beats. Again, down and down and down. Let's speed it up. It's drop and drop and drop and drop. That's it. S-shaped arm. Here we go. Frame that hip. Excellent. Let's bring the arms back to second position and slow down this movement to drop. Lift, and we're going to drop it forward and back. Here we go. Drop front, pick it up, drop back. Again, dropping forward, dropping back. Let's speed it up. It's forward and back and forward and back, forward and back. As a double now, here we go. To front, 1 and 2, back, 1 and 2, forward, 1 and 2, back, 1 and 2. 2 more sets. Forward and back and forward and back. Excellent. Let's try this on our left side. Back into our bevel on the left, knees soft. Lift. That hip will drop it down. Pick it up, down. Nice earthy, strong movement. And down, speeding up. It's drop and drop. Squeeze those lower abs. And we're gonna frame the hip with our beautiful S-shaped arms. Bring the arms back to second position. Slow down the movement. We'll take it down and up and down, and we'll drop it to the front, pick it up, to the back, pick it up, to the front, pick it up, and back. Let's take that up to tempo. It's forward and back and forward and back. Let's take it for our double now. 2 to the front. It's 1 and 2, back, 1 and 2, forward, 1 and 2, back, 1, 2. Couple more. Forward and back. And here's our last one. Forward and back. Excellent job. Our next percussive movement is called a hip twist. It looks like this. In the American version of the twist, we move our knees around. In the Egyptian version of the twist, it all comes from the hip. Let's start with our foot in a bevel, right heel lifted, knees soft, tailbone tucked underneath us. We'll pull the hip forward on the beat, making sure that the movement is coming from the hip and not the knee. In our exercise, we'll move from right hip to left in sets of 4s, 2s, and then singles, stepping in between. Let's try this with some music. Starting on the right side, slowly we'll take the hip forward and back, and forward and back, forward and back, and forward. Let's try this on the left side. Hip forward and back. Keep that heel lifted and back. Forward and back. Let's try that a little faster. Again on the right. It's a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Left side. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. If we want to get fancy, we can take one hand behind the head. 3 and 4 and switch. It's 1 and 2 and 3. One more time each side. It's a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2. Moving into sets of 2. Here we go. It's 1 and 2. Step. 1 and 2. That's it. 1 and 2. Let's add the arm back in. It's 1 and 2. Step. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And now as a single, let's try it slowly first. Twist and step. twist, and step, twist, and step. And now a little bit faster. Here we go. It's twist, step, twist, step. Let's frame the arms behind the head. Twist, step, twist, step. Keep it going. One more count of 8 with arms in second. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great job. In our basic Egyptian walk, we'll combine a step and a touch with our percussive hip movement to make a sassy traveling step. Let's start just with step touch. We'll step forward, bringing the weight onto the full foot, and then touch, bringing the weight only to the toe, so we can pick that foot right up again. Step forward, touch, step forward, touch. We can also take this movement to the back. Step back and touch, step back and touch, step back and touch. This movement becomes our basic Egyptian step as we add our percussive hip movement. Let's begin with a hip lift. Step forward, lift the hip, forward and lift, step and lift, step. Let's take that to the back, step, lift it up, heels down and lift, step, lift, step and lift. Let's take the same movement with a hip drop. Step forward, the hip goes down on the beat. Step and drop, step and drop, and let's take it to the back. Step back, hip drop, step back, hip drop, step back, hip drop, step back, hip drop. Lastly, we'll try it with a hip twist. Step forward, twist the hip forward on the beat. Step and twist, step and twist. Let's take it to the back. Step back and twist, back, twist, back, twist, back, twist. We're ready to try this with some music. Starting again with hip lift. Arms in second. We'll take step, hip lift, step, hip lift, step, hip lift, and take it to the back. Step right and left and right. If you're comfortable, you can add arms. Stretching one hand forward, one hand on our temple, and back, step, up, and we'll take this over to the right. It's step, up, step, up, step, up, take it back, step, pop the hip, back, and over to the left. Here we go, step, lift, step, lift, step, lift, step, take it back, step, back, step, back, step, back, step, back. Beautiful. Let's try this now with our hip drop, stepping forward with the right foot. Step forward, hip drop, step forward, hip drop, step forward, hip drop, step forward. Let's take it back, step with the right foot, back, hip drop, back, hip drop, back, hip drop, and now we'll take it with our S-shaped arms. Step forward, hip drop, step forward, hip drop, step forward, hip drop, step forward, take it back. It's back, hip down, step, hip down, step, hip down, and let's try that a little faster. Here we go. Step, hip drop, step, hip drop, step, hip drop, take it back, back hip drop,